What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today's video is very special because I got the opportunity to check out a new Star Wars project early, which if you've been following this channel since the very beginning or for any time at all, I have mentioned it so many times. Star Wars is my favorite thing of all time, not just the movies and the TV shows, but the books, the comics, the video games. The world of Star Wars is my favorite. I've been a part of that fandom for as long as I've been alive, going to things like Star Wars Weekend, Star Wars Celebration, and tons of other Star Wars related fan events. I have a Star Wars sleeve in production right now. It goes without saying, I love this universe. And so when I got the email from Disney that they were sending me over all 6 episodes of the entirety of Tales of the Empire to check out a little bit early, I was so excited. So without further ado, let's get into my thoughts on Star Wars Tales of the Empire. Directed by Dave Filoni and starring people like Diana Lee Inosanto, Meredith Salenger, Lars Mikkelsen, Jason Isaacs, Matthew Wood, and so many more, Star Wars Tales of the Empire is the follow-up to Star Wars Tales of the Jedi. So when we got Star Wars Tales of the Jedi, I was in love with that. For anybody who's unfamiliar, this is a follow-up to that series, with both series containing 6 episodes, 3 focusing on one character and the other 3 focusing on another. And in Tales of the Jedi, the first 3 episodes were focused on Count Dooku, giving us prequel events leading up to the events of the Phantom Menace and filling us in a lot more on that character. And one of the coolest things about seeing a young Count Dooku was seeing him be the master to a young Qui-Gon Jinn. It was so awesome to see that brought to life on screen. Stuff that we know, stuff that we've seen in books, stuff that's been told to us, but was able to be fleshed out in such a cooler way. And the Count Dooku portion of that series was without a doubt my favorite. The other 3 episodes were focused on Ahsoka Tano, who has been a major player across so many series like the Clone Wars series, Star Wars Rebels, and her own series, Ahsoka. She's also appeared in things like Star Wars The Mandalorian. And so I wasn't as crazy about the Ahsoka episodes, only because while I enjoyed them, I did think they were fun and I really enjoyed seeing Ahsoka in those episodes. It never really felt like those episodes were adding too much more to Ahsoka, whereas the Count Dooku episodes added a whole lot. So here we are now talking on Tales of the Empire, and I thought we were going to get a Tales of the Jedi Season 2, maybe focus on some of the smaller Jedi characters or side characters that are beloved by fans, but instead they decided to go a completely different route, but similar to Tales of the Jedi, focusing 3 episodes on one character, in this case Morgan Elsbeth, with the other 3 episodes focusing on the character of Barriss Offee. And this instantly intrigued me, as the character of Morgan Elsbeth is a character that was introduced in The Mandalorian and would go on to be in Ahsoka, but isn't really a character we know in abundance about. And when it comes down to Barriss Offee, she's a character that we were left off in a really interesting spot in the Clone Wars. And if you haven't seen the Clone Wars, here's a little bit of a spoiler warning, but she is of course the Jedi who at the very end of the Clone Wars, when we see her, she was the one who was framing Ahsoka Tano and had the Jedi going after Ahsoka. But of course we learned that she in fact was the one who caused everything that Ahsoka Tano was being blamed for and was put in prison. But we never got to follow up Barriss Offee's story, and it was always something that I think a lot of fans were really intrigued by. And I almost feel very similar to this series as I did Tales of the Jedi, where 3 of the episodes were ones I were really focused on, and the other 3 of the episodes I enjoyed them, but they weren't as good as the other 3. And in the case of this season, the first 3 episodes focus on Morgan Elsbeth. Of course, you have Diana Lee Inosanto returning to play the character, and we get to see her kind of rising in the ranks, leading up to her, of course, getting to know Admiral Thrawn, or Grand Admiral Thrawn later on, once again played by Lars Mikkelsen. And this pretty much just chronicles how she went from a very tragic life on Dathomir to the point where she's ending up working with the greatest Grand Admiral in all of the Empire. And while I enjoyed the Morgan Elsbeth episodes, I felt similar to how I felt about the Ahsoka episodes, where I felt like they added a little bit, but it didn't really feel like it added in abundance to her character. Those episodes were a lot of fun to watch though. There's some great badass action, and one of those scenes has already been released online, and you can see it in the trailer, of course featuring one of the greatest Star Wars villains of all time, General Grievous, played by Matthew Wood once again. There's some really great action when it comes to those Morgan Elsbeth episodes, and it does a great job of tying into the events of things like The Mandalorian and Ahsoka. So I feel like in order to enjoy those Morgan Elsbeth episodes, you need to have at least seen The Mandalorian and Ahsoka so you can understand what the trajectory of this character is. because it really is just kind of teeing us up for lining straight into the events, most notably of The Mandalorian. And of course, the other 3 episodes are focused on Barriss Offee, as I just mentioned, and these were the episodes I found myself the most glued to, similar to how I felt about the Count Dooku episodes in Tales of the Jedi. Barriss was left off in a really interesting place at the end of the Clone Wars the last time we saw her, so when we pick up with her here, she is imprisoned by the Jedi Order, but starts off right at the events of Order 66, and because the Republic is now being reorganized into the First Galactic Empire, she has been given the opportunity to join the Inquisitorius, to become one of the Inquisitors, dark side users who go out there and try to comb the galaxy for other Jedi to try to wipe them out. And so now that the Republic doesn't exist anymore, her imprisonment kind of changes. She's given this opportunity now to join the Inquisitors, and you can see this all in the trailer. And as soon as I saw that, I was super engaged to see what they were going to do with her character and how she was going to kind of fit in with these other characters that we know, as well as a couple of other Inquisitors we didn't have a lot of time spent with that are just cool visually. And one of the characters we got to spend a little bit more time with this time around that I actually really enjoyed learning more about is the character of the fourth sister, who once again is played by Raya Kilstead, and we see her in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. She has a few lines of dialogue, but ultimately doesn't have a lot to do, as she's not one of the main Inquisitors that we focus on when it comes down to the narrative of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so being able to see her fleshed out a little bit more here as the main Inquisitor who was dealing with Barriss Offee, I thought was really great, and I liked the fact that we were kind of able to expand on her character, even though these episodes are short. Similar to that first season, most of the episodes run anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes, so they are pretty quick to watch, and watching all 6 episodes won't take you a lot of time at all. But what I really enjoyed about watching these episodes was the little bit of information they were able to give us to really flesh out small details and flesh out these characters and their journeys that, you know, we don't really get to see all that often, or that just completely were cut off. So in the case of this series, Tales of the Empire, I really enjoyed the Barriss Offee stuff. I thought that she was awesome to kind of see expanded upon. I like to see what they did with that transition from the Republic to the Empire, and kind of what her opportunities were now as a fallen Jedi, so to speak, and how she kind of feels about being around these other fully fallen Jedi who no longer care about the Jedi Order at all. And while I mentioned that the Barriss Offee episodes were my favorite of the 2 storylines that we're following here, I still did enjoy the Morgan Elsbeth stuff. And similar to what we've been seeing with Star Wars The Bad Batch, or even in the recent season of the Clone Wars that came out a few years ago, or in other things like Tales of the Jedi, you have top tier animation that continues on that Clone Wars style of animation that continually looks more and more beautiful with every episode and every series that they release. I love to see the fact that we're all these years later, and I was a kid, I was a teenager, early teenager when the first Clone Wars series started, and to be this old now, to be 30 years old and still be watching expansions in Star Wars within this animation style is such a beautiful thing. And as a longtime Star Wars fan, it's both a nostalgic thing and exciting to see them doing these weird, crazy new things with this art style and expanding upon characters that you never would have thought they would have. And I hope, honestly, that we get more Tales of the Jedi. I hope that we get more Tales of the Empire, because I think that both of these series have opportunity to really expand upon a bunch of different characters that don't get a whole lot of screen time but have instantly intrigued fans, or have some expansion in the books and comics but not a whole lot of on-screen expansion. So when it comes down to Tales of the Empire, honestly, I found this to be a fantastic time, such a good time to watch, and that's going to be my thoughts on Tales of the Empire, guys. Of course, it hasn't come out yet as you guys are watching this review. It's not hit Disney Plus yet. It hits it on Disney Plus on May 4th, so May the 4th be with you if you were checking this out after the series has come out. And I look forward to hearing all the various opinions on this season, which episodes kind of stick with people the most, which ones stand out to people the most. But I think that most Star Wars fans are in for a fun, action-packed time that expands upon stories and gives us some nice fan service moments with some nice cameos and fan favorite characters returning for small moments. I think there's a lot of fun to be had in these 6 episodes, and if there's enough interest in the comments down below, maybe I'll do a spoiler review where I'll touch on the individual episodes and what goes on after this has released on Disney Plus. But again, a big thanks to those kind folks over at Disney and Lucasfilm for giving me the opportunity to check out a Star Wars project early. I started this channel with nothing but love for movies, TV, Star Wars, and with nothing but hope that I'll be able to one day have early access to things like this. And I'm in a place now where I do get a lot of early access to movies and TVs, but this, without a doubt, has to be one of the biggest triumphs of this channel, being able to get early access to my favorite series of all time. So a big thanks to you guys for watching. Hit that like button, comment your thoughts down below, subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you beautiful people in the next one. Bye-bye.